Years and years ago, I came across Earl Nightingale. There's a lot of information about Earl Nightingale here on YouTube. And I went through his message and I went through his training, and something really odd happened. I began to realize that the life that I was living was choice. And let me go ahead and explain that. See, you make a choice. When you make a decision or you don't make a decision, either way it's a choice. And I began to see that my life was put together with a bunch of uninformed choices. Number one, I didn't go to college. Number two, I didn't pick a career. Number three, I didn't understand money. And these were all conscious choices that I made, even though I was unaware that I was making these choices. And as I went through Earl Nightingale's stuff and I began to absorb it, I began to realize that you can create the type of life that you want to live if you understand how these things work. And it was a fascinating discovery when I understood that I could create the lifestyle that I wanted to live if I was willing to do the work. And that was an eye-opening experience for me, because you want to start a business, you want to set up a holding company, an operating company, you want to get yourself some business credit, you want to learn how to run a business, you want to start your first online business. If you want to do that, and congratulations to you for being a person that wants more out of life, for being that person that's ready to sit down, do the work so your future can be brighter. I got something for you. Go below and enter into the Corporate Citizen Playbook, where we teach you all of that plus a lot more. Because you are not a normal, regular person. You want more out of life. You want to do more, you want to be more, you want to have more. And congratulations to you. So the link is below. Go ahead and check out this video, and then go ahead and enroll in the Corporate Citizen Playbook, where I teach you some things that you cannot Google. Can't Google it. Can't Google it at all. Years and years ago, I was listening to Earl Nightingale's Lead the Field, and it dawned upon me that I wasn't leading anything. I hadn't built anything, I wasn't working on anything, I didn't have a business. I was just living life, and just living life was the reason that I had the life that I was living, really, which wasn't that good. So I listened to Earl and I began to start designing my life. This was not something that can snap your fingers and it's gonna happen overnight. But literally it took me 24 to about 28 months for me to start designing my life. What was the first thing I had to do? First thing I had to do was solve the money situation, because as we all know, the life that you live stems from the money that you make. If you're out here struggling, you're out here doing Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Ship, and all this other stuff, typically the life that you're going to design is not going to be that robust or good. So I understood that. So what did I do? First thing I did, I got a high-paying job, which was at Rent-A-Crate. That was the first thing, because I had to solve my money issues. And then I began to work in that job, and I worked in that job, and I got another job, and I worked in that job, and I got another job, and I worked in that job, until I got to 6 figures. And then I built my first company, which gave me $250,000 cash after taxes. And that was the money that enabled me to design my life. I had a video on my old channel talking about I will never live in the hood. And let me explain to you why. When you live in the hood, the chances of you coming across someone extraordinary, and what I mean by that is someone who can give you insights, wisdom, and help on doing something different, is pretty slim. So years and years ago, about 15 years ago, I moved to Sandy Springs, Georgia, and consistently I ran into famous people, I ran into well-educated people, I ran into people who were able to do stuff. Like I was in Waffle House one day, and I was in Waffle House and the guy next to me, we were just having this conversation. Then we started having this conversation about a holding company. Eye opening conversation. That conversation literally changed my life. Literally changed my life. So once I understood the design, because like, once again, this is nothing in regards to people being poor. If you're poor, you're struggling, my heart goes out to you. But you want to set yourself up in an environment where you can have success. And this is the thing that happened when I moved to Sandy Springs. I got used to seeing Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, Bentleys, Rolls Royce. That became my norm. That became a normal part of my life. So it's little regards that I now own a Porsche because I had put myself in an environment where I was surrounded by that. I was surrounded by wealth. Because this is one of the things, and I see this all the time on YouTube, where people think that everyone who is rich and well off lives this stealth wealth. They have all this money and they don't spend it and they live like an average person. Let me explain to you why I believe that to be false. When I moved to Sandy Springs, this happened during the last recession. This is something that is a norm in Sandy Springs, where someone will spend $1 million to $2 million for a house that is perfectly livable and knock that bad boy down and build exactly what they want. Did this stop during the recession? No, it slowed down, but it didn't stop. And there are certain parts of Sandy Springs where you go, you can tell that they've knocked down all of the old houses and built what they want. And this is really, really important. I saw people coming in and changing the environment to the level of environment that they wanted. I want you to think, you're gonna spend $1 million, $2 million for a piece of property to knock the house down so you can build exactly what you want. And this is a message that got reinforced into me. It's like, I saw rich people, really rich people, not the stereotypical millionaire next door, someone who has a lot of wealth in his house, money in the stock market, and retired and drives a regular car. That's not the type of rich people that I was seeing on a daily basis. I was seeing rich people who were buying multi-million-dollar mansions and paying cash. I was seeing rich people driving Lamborghinis. I was seeing rich people drive Bentleys and Rolls Royces. I was seeing the real level of, we'll call this upgraded wealth, where these people had gotten past the millionaire next door stage. The millionaire next door, this is someone who has a lot of money in their house, maybe some money in stocks, but this isn't the person who has the cash flow to buy a Porsche. Very, very important lesson. They didn't have the cash flow to buy $1 million house. They didn't have the cash flow to take these trips. They didn't have the cash flow to have a wife who never worked, a wife who stayed at home. They didn't have cash flow. But once again, because I put myself in this environment, I consistently saw this message that if you're willing to do the work, you can have the life that you want. And this is a lesson that started with Earl Nightingale. And when I moved to Sandy Springs, Georgia, I saw it every day with my own eyes. So this is where I started to create a life of design and intent. This is where I began to understand the principles that you don't have to live a regular life if you don't want to. And once again, if your dream is to get a yurt and to go out to the middle of the woods and to live that life, and that's what you want to do, and that makes you happy, knock yourself out. But once again, personal capital is for people who want to live an extraordinary, exaggerated life. This is for the person who wants the Porsche. This is for the person who wants the $1 million house. This is for the person who wants to take these fancy vacations. This is the person who wants to go to the ATM machine, put their card in, withdraw $1,000, and on the receipt, it says $1 million still in the account. This is what personal capital is for. It's about people who want to build and design lives where they can actually live life, enjoy life, and enjoy their money, and have fun, and be happy, and do these things consistently. Because one of the things that people don't understand is you can design your life. And this is some of the tips that I will give you. Go to open house of $1 million house. Go drive a Porsche. Go and just be honest. It's like, look, I'm not in a position to buy this. I just want to test drive this car. Just tell them the truth. And don't go on a Saturday on their busy days. Just go during the week. Drive your cars. Go visit these houses. Visit the places that you want to be, because you need to be in an environment that's going to reinforce your desires. And this is one of the reasons that I will never live in the hood, because the hood will reinforce the concept of being poor. It will reinforce the concept of not having money. It will reinforce the concept of the struggle. Hence, all of these videos on YouTube talking about it's so hard to live, because these people want to be heard and they don't want to actually solve that problem. They don't want to build a business. They don't want to make more money. They want to come on the internet and whine about how hard life is, versus sitting down and doing something to change their life, doing something to improve their lives. And this is one of the things that you, yes, you, sitting there on the other side of the screen, if you have the goal to sit down, write down your goals, work on your business, and do the things that you need to do, the next recession, because there will be another recession, you could sit back at home and completely ignore the recession because it's not touching you. You're not feeling it. You're not stressed out. You're not struggling. You're building something. You're creating something. And this is living a life of intent and design. Like, once again, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've looked at many neighborhoods, but guess what? I'm going back to Sandy Springs because that's where I want to live, because that neighborhood reinforced and educated me on how to have a better, more robust life. So once again, you on the other side of the screen, you can design your life. You can set up your life. You can do these things if you want to have a life of intent and design, and you can design it any way you want to. If you want to live in a shack in the middle of the Arizona desert, you can do that. If you want to live in a castle in Scotland, you can do that. It's all about you sitting down, putting that intention in your mind, and setting yourself up to live this wonderful, fantastic life. Now, to help you, I have something called the Corporate Citizen Playbook. The link is below. Once again, this isn't for broke people. This isn't for people who are struggling. I have none of those secret jelly beans to help you go from making no money and living a life of a pauper. But if you're a person who's managed your money well and you want to go further, I can help you. So go below, sign up for the questionnaire, because we have an application process, and then that could set you up for a phone call. And let me just go ahead and say, if you put up a weak or yes and no application, we will not be talking, because I will cancel your phone call. So if you're a person who really wants to live a life of intent and design, you want to live where you want to live, you want to drive where you want to drive, you want to have the money to send your kids to private school, you want to do all of that and a lot more, go below, hit that level, and I will see you guys in the next video.